Hey, what's up, family? It's Chef Philly D.
Mr. Gemini here.
Yeah, back at it again. Another episode of I'm Telling You.
I'm telling you.
No, I'm telling you.
I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, we always say I'm telling you, but, you're telling me, and then sometimes I tell you. I mean, that's the great thing about the show. So,
Yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, first-time listeners, this is what we do. We talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, we've talked about the Akashic Records, right? I mean,
Yeah, we've talked about, we haven't got like Nostradamus or any of that kind of stuff yet, but Tesla was a big subject for us.
We talk about Tesla, yeah. I mean, we got into some like Einstein. I mean, we talk about all kinds of stuff and how that reflects in like educational systems. I mean, everything, right? I mean, we get all in the tangents, we get parallels.
Try to get crazy deep, yeah.
And sometimes we don't. We just get it's just like straight levity.
Totally off track. Who knows?
We just start doing movie quotes and like music quotes and having conversations that don't really mean anything, but you and I are cracking up about it. That's a great thing. We just we get to mess around. We get to have some deep conversations.
One of the stuff we'd be doing anyway. Like normally just sitting around just talking about silly stuff. And how many years now you've been talking about, dude, we need to just start recording this stuff.
See, you would say talking about it. I would say harassing. I was harassing you. But yeah, years.
Yeah. It was a few.
But yeah, so those of you who don't know, we've known each other for about 30 years now.
30 long years.
Why you gotta say it like that?
There's nothing personal on you. I mean, if you need to read into that, whatever. But
why you gotta elongate the long?
It's been long for me. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff been going. I mean, come on. I mean, you the experience. It can do really mess your world up.
So you've told me. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least not firsthand.
Well, it's interesting, But anyway, yeah. So
yeah, it's the great thing about this is we can start from there, and who knows where we get into it, right? Because that's the thing I think you were talking about a while is you've been kind of going back on that moment and what you've like learned from it and stuff. Because you talk a lot about it as it's like a point of your writing. Because you like to write.
Well, it's a connection for me to be able to verbalize things that I've always, since, like I think I was telling you, since my accident at age 17, it's been like, I've always felt like I had to have a pen or a pencil in my hand to express myself. And this is kind of helping me break out of that shell. So
when you say that, you mean the being able to verbalize it and
the being able to verbalize it. Yeah.
Yeah. So past writing it, now you're actually putting it out into like vocal thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Painting a word picture.
Yeah, and just being, the whole idea of this is just being ourselves like we normally are, being silly and talking about whatever, sciencey, deep, strange.
I know, right? Yeah, philosophical, scientific, hypothetical.
We speak
all of the above.
We speak in our own language a bit.
Yeah, but not like devil's tongue. It's it's just movie speak. We just we can go back and forth on quotes and have a whole conversation, and just everyone else is scratching their heads, referencing like 85 movies.
Oh, now I would give people a little bit more credit than that, right?
I mean, no, yeah, the true diehards, yeah, they know. They're probably sitting there cracking up along with us, like, yo, I know what they mean.
Yeah, and it was like thinking back on all these times that you asked me. Like, man, we should really start just recording these conversations. And my argument against that was like, bro, nobody's going to listen to that.
Nobody wants to listen to us.
It's not nearly as interesting as you think it is. But, then we started doing it just for the heck of it. I'm like, I gave in, right? I was like, I don't know if it was a weak moment or I was just, you said it was like a challenge.
Well, yeah, I think, because I had put it to you so many times, you finally came back at me. You were like, well, then fine, just do it.
Let's just do it.
You're like, I call your bluff. And I was like, oh, did you now? Okay. And I just showed up the one day and I was like, look, I have microphones. Let's do this. You're like, holy crap, we're actually going to do this. I was like, we're doing this.
Yeah, I kind of painted myself in a corner there, didn't I?
You totally did.
It was all right, though.
Yeah, it's been a great ride. Because, you and I have discussed this a few times on the side is like, it helps with that emotional baggage. This is a place where you get to, vocalize, you get to express. And we never know that's the great thing is so no matter what topic we're talking about, it still comes from that personal bias, which is really what all of us need to be able to do. So it's not even that we should be having these conversations. It's that all of us should, because then all of us are expressing ourselves. I think that's the bigger point of what we do here.
Yeah. I think I was just saying to you earlier is that if nothing else, I've listened to a couple myself and find kind of like a little bit of respite, a little bit of entertainment, and then kind of get to relive what I was going through when I recorded it. So it's even for me, it's entertaining to
Yeah,
to
and
go back. But
it's like cathartic, but on like an emotionally positive level where you can like laugh at it, you know.
sometimes,
Sometimes, yeah, I know. Sometimes, like we recry. Oh yeah, no. There's other episodes you can hear us. We have very emotional components, and we break down, and we're real here. You know, that's what we offer. We're going to.
well, we're trying to
ourselves.
end that more specifically, kind of the idea of having what I would consider the difficult conversation. You know, being willing to talk about the things that nobody else wants to talk about.
Well, and that's why I'm like, it's not even so much the topic in that regard. It's also to the level or ability or willingness of acceptance of someone else's perspective that we're allowing that conversation to happen. So if we're talking about education or economic systems, you know, or past historical components or individual, like whatever the topic is, we get to put that relative bias on it, and it really gives us that nature to just put ourselves out there. Like we're just expressing because neither one of us are freaking professionals at anything, really.
No, but I mean, I try to come at everything with an open mind. I mean, I really do try.
Well, and that's why I'm saying, like, that's what's beautiful about that is every topic we do. And if anybody that would be a guest on the show, same regard. Like, we don't necessarily have to agree with one another, and there's times when we do disagree. However, we still accept one another.
I mean, you know me. I'll walk right up to a flat earther and just start asking questions. I don't care. Like it's just
you're mean though.
No.
No. Yeah,
because it's another person. I mean, like
well, you're Socratic.
You're
Socratic. You want to make it better.
Are you going to tell me there's crazier beliefs than what they believe?
Well, but that's the thing is
They totally are.
You're not doing it to challenge them to try to put them down. You're doing it to challenge them, just to challenge them, because it's like, well, maybe there's a perspective in there that I never thought of.
I mean, the only challenge would be prove it.
Well, yeah, but you're willing to grow from that experience, is what I'm saying.
Like where's your proof? Well, okay, well, you've never been on the moon. Well, no, I've never been on the moon myself, so I don't know. I haven't seen it. I've seen footage, but I'm like, I could have been doctored. Well, I mean, I guess, you know. Like, you could go round and round with that argument. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's flat Earth, you can't really go round and round.
But for me,
outside.
That's the whole point. Like, for me, it's just the fun of the conversation and connecting with another person. Like,
That's
you don't have to jump in and share their beliefs, because, good God, nobody would ever be able to talk to anybody else unless they were members of the same church.
Maybe. I don't know.
It'd be a ridiculous, wow.
I don't want to live in that world to find out. How about that?
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, let's not ponder that.
Yeah, I don't think I want to stay there for very long. But yeah, we were discussing one of our most recent favorite movies.
Oh yeah. We bring that up a lot.
But we didn't. I know the last time we referenced it, it was in conversation, and we said we wanted to come back to it. So
pretty sure we've said that a few times.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. What were your big takeaways from it? So, I don't know. Maybe we should start with a. So, first of all,
frame of reference. Yeah. All right. So
the movie name was
The Last Shaman.
The Last Shaman.
Yeah. It's quick plot. You know, throw everything on it. Guy is severely massive, like depressed person. Just, I mean, and to the point where it's been in the majority of his life, like at least several years, where he's done different medications, therapies.
But he's smart. He's relatively successful. He's going to college. Like,
from a good home, gets amazing grades.
Everything seems to be going right in his life, but for whatever reason, he's just missing that.
He feels literally no joy. I mean, he literally elected to have electroshock therapy to try to feel something. Like, not to feel good, just to feel something.
I mean, I've known people in some pretty bad situations that wouldn't even consider.
Right. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean,
so he's in super dire situation to like find himself and find happiness. And so he decides that, hey, I'm going to kill myself, but I'm going to give myself a year to find a way to be happy. And if I can't, then, hey, I'm okay with just not being here anymore. Well, he decides in that year's time, he's going to go to Peru, try ayahuasca to have that going to God experience or whatever, getting to the center of the universe kind of thing. Goes on that journey. In going on that journey, he has that self-discovery and finds his true self, which is where his happiness lies.
Now, it's interesting to me because that brings up, just as we're talking about this, that brings up the thought that in our current culture, there isn't there isn't that outlet for, I mean, in some ways we make outlets, but there isn't that outlet for that transition between childhood and adulthood that really kind of pulls everything. Like, so you're talking about this, and like the first thing I thought about was like the people in Australia, the Aborigines or whatever, when they reach a certain age, they'll go on what they call a walkabout.
Right.
Right. And the walkabout is kind of what you're talking about. It's like, I'm going to go come hell or high water. What happens to me? If I don't come back, I don't come back. But if I do, I'm going to come back. You know, basically, I'm going to have, you know, the golden fleece on my shoulder. I'm going to have the prize. I'm going to have figured it out.
Yeah, like Buddha going out.
And in a lot of cases, that might be the next shaman. That might be the next, you know, spiritual or tribal leader or whatever, you know.
Or just a really good dad.
That going through, yeah. But that going through that ordeal is what kind of brings that all together. And that, in a way, our culture doesn't really offer that anymore. That real...
I wouldn't say it doesn't offer it. I would say that it doesn't properly promote it as much as it did or could.
Because it was a trial, though. I mean, there was that aspect of it that was really more of a trial. You know, it was like pushed you to your limits, made you question whether, you know what's important to you in life, and
coming to terms.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of, and in a lot of cases, what you're talking about is it's solitude. I mean, and that's kind of what you experience in the movie too, is that he goes out there and like, he doesn't know anybody. Like, he's literally going from, you know, one dirt road to another looking for shaman, right? Well, yeah, and just trying to figure out by word of mouth and local advertisement and where do I go.
Well, he starts out in the main cities where everything is very much commercialized. You know,
yeah, so they have like watered down versions of ayahuasca, and they're trying
like
to
super dirty, gross brewed tea of just like leaves and not ayahuasca.
Right. It might make you sick for a little bit, but not like a healing way.
Yeah, you'll throw up, but you ain't gonna see God. You're gonna be praying for it instead. Right. Well, so, and he gets past that capitalistic healing component of it, where they're trying to monetize it, goes deeper into Peru itself, looking for a true shaman, which, come to find out, and this is the thing that I really love the most. One of my biggest takeaways from that movie is he, in finding the truer shaman that actually winds up being his last shaman, which is why he calls it that, right? That was that reference that you had made on it. In doing that, the shaman he gets as his healer tells him that he's not going to charge him. He's like, I'm a man of healing. This is my God-given power and gift. I'm put on this earth to do this. Like, this is my blessing to the world. How can I charge for that? You know, how can I take God's gift and dirty it in that fashion and put money behind it? He's like, this is my purpose. I can't ask for you to pay me for this.
And at the time, this was actually, he was one of the last remaining people that would, the shamans, the true shaman that would do this and not charge a dime. Because really, when you've gotten to that point, like, you don't have anything. Like, he gave of himself. And that was there was like an exchange there. And that was the respect between, like, he lived a life with that man the whole time. Yeah. Like, so if they had to gather, cause you know, we actually watched this movie together once, and it was a pretty emotional experience because you're going through this with him, and it's very much from his perspective the whole time. Like, they're showing you what he's going through on the boat before he even meets.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
His shaman, he's on the boat, like, losing his mind.
Well, see, and I would say he's finding his mind.
Well, I mean, but it's like verbal diarrhea. Like, he's throwing everything out. Like, everything's coming to the surface, which, like you said, it was a healing thing, but it was tough to watch.
Well, only because it triggered things within us because we could relate.
Yeah.
You know, not so much per topic, but just the emotion behind it.
I got a lot out of. I mean, there was a lot of things he said, but one of the things that really sticks out in my mind is this whole thing about, and I've heard it mentioned in other places because I like to study philosophy in my spare time, but the whole idea that we are we are this massive ideas that other people have about us, and they constantly try to imprint on us. Like, well, you can't do that because you're this, or, you know what I mean? It's like people are constantly trying to tell you who you are. And
well,
he was
because
like,
they're trying to figure out who they are.
There was this whole like disconnect with like, he didn't feel like his life was even being lived by him. It's like he was living it for other people. Like there was a whole lot of stuff, I think, and I can't remember exactly, but with his dad and what was that quote that he had? But I mean, that was the part where he blew up. Like he really was like, I think he was slamming a part of the boat, and
he basically referenced to the effect of what kind of love he was receiving from his parents and the way that they held their expectations on him, and how that wasn't okay to do that to a child.
Yeah.
You know, they basically were putting this very mature kind of ideas of this is how you have to maintain yourself. And he wanted to just be a free spirit and artistic and just express himself. And they're like, no, you have to be in a box and you got to count 1, 2, and 3, and you got to do your ABCs.
And you got to understand this kid was not a recluse. He was not stupid. I mean, he was in an Ivy League college. Right? Wasn't he?
One of the Big Ten or something like that. Yeah. He was at a very renowned
He was at a prestigious university.
Oh,
I mean, the kid was no slouch, you know?
And like from a very, very wealthy, affluent family, because both of them were doctors and I believe also researchers to one of the bigger universities as well.
And this is...
medical institutions.
Yeah.
I forget the exact, but...
And this just as a side note, when you want to judge other people in your life based on, you know, what you perceive as them having that's better than you, realize that when it really all boils down to it, it doesn't matter the things you have, because we all have to go through this in our own way. And like when you see somebody like that, you know, like they never had need of anything, but there's still a struggle there. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, we all struggle. It's something that's universal.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my younger the other day. That exact premise where she's basically like, oh, I have to pay this bill. You know, she's taking these extra classes because she's capable of doing that and she wants to continue her education, you know, do it well. But she's getting charged for it. She's like, oh, I have to pay these bills. I'm like,
no, you want to.
Well, it's not even that. But I was like, there's people out there that look at you and it's like, you can afford to pay that and you're complaining about that you have a bill. It's like, dude, I have bills that I can't even pay. I would love to be able to pay those bills because then I'm probably paying these other bills too. And I'd feel great about that. And here you are complaining that you have to pay bills. There's people out there that would love to pay bills, but they can't, you know? So that's that kind of perspective where it's like, yeah, just because you have it.
It's hard to remember that though. Like, you know, to put on a smile when you pay your bill because it means you get to have electricity. Like, you don't realize how great it is until you don't have it. So
depending on your programming, yeah.
Like you said, it's so easy to complain about, well, that's money out. But no, it's not. There was an exchange of service there. You know, you get to start your toaster and cook your eggs in the morning on the, you know.
Well, but that's the thing. I don't even think of it as money out. I think of it as in order to have that money out, I had to have had that money in, which means that I made that. I earned that.
That's what it's there for in the first place. Yeah.
So that's, you know, to have that perspective. But yeah, so like just as you were saying, though, just because you have everything doesn't mean that you really do if you don't have any value behind it. So you could have little or a lot. If you don't put a value on it that's true, not superficial, where it's like everybody else says it's good or bad. If you don't actually hold the true appreciation or value for it, then it's worthless.
It reminds me of this funny little anecdote from Alan Watts that it wasn't from that particular one, but there was a short story that he told during one of his speeches where he was like, you know, this whole story about this woman that went shopping and she got to the grocery checkout. She's got this giant cart full of stuff. And, you know, of course, this is a bit dated at the time, but, you know, she finishes checkout and it's like $60. And it's like, man. And you can kind of see kind of like a depressed look on her face when she has to hand over $60. And the thought in his mind is like, it's ridiculous because she's handing over a few pieces of paper, but all the important stuff is right there in the cart.
Yeah, I remember that one.
You know, so it's funny how we put value on things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that stuff means nothing.
Yeah,
if you can't survive on it, it doesn't cover your head, you can't eat it, you know, like what good is it?
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's one of the premises that's always gotten me was if, the world comes to whatever the apocalypse style it is. I don't care if it's like zombies or like some weird bioterror, or like all the nukes go off, or whatever the deal is. The polar ice caps finally melt. Like the ozone layer does we don't know.
Well, we lived through '99, right? I mean,
yeah, right. But that's the thing though, is like, so when that kind of stuff happens, it's
that Prince song just doesn't hold water.
Yeah, it still holds water. Prince is dope.
I'm gonna party like it's. Oh.
Well, I'm still gonna party like it's that because it was crazy and I lived it. It was great.
It was, yeah.
But and that's that thing though, is when that world exists, that piece of paper means nothing. That gold jewelry probably has little to no value anymore. Having food, having clean water, having clean clothes,
right?
Medicine.
Well, and putting values like I mean, I've joked around because I'm unemployed now, and I like to play around and learn different things that I've never done before. I think I was telling you, what did you call it? A dip tank? Like I created electrolysis.
Yeah, the electrolysis component. Yeah, it's
to remove rust from a tool or
the
something.
dip tank is the component you would put it in for the procedure of, which is electrolysis. Yeah.
But having knowledge like that is actually it's more valuable out there in the wild when you can kind of be innovative and try to figure out okay, well, I need to figure out how I'm going to get water from this creek over here, so that I can drink. I got to learn how to build a house. I got to, those are important things to know how to do, even if it's really basic. Because what if you have no other choice?
To me, that's the thing, though, is you have to have the basics, because if you don't, then you have not a strong founder to build on.
I still need to learn how to start a fire. You just start a fire, with just a stick or with the bow thing, or what is it? I don't know. It's been a long time since Scouts.
Well, but you have to have appropriate woods when you're doing that system. When you
shade it down.
Because you have to have a harder wood with a softer wood so that you get the appropriate friction, because the friction is what creates the heat. And when you have that small bundle or that kindling, the little, your little starter pack, which is either frayed bark or...
so the spindle has to be a harder wood so that it can actually...
No, I believe the base has to be the harder wood so that it can take the abuse.
Oh, and then you pile the stuff on top of that actual...
Yeah, it can be just like pine needles and little twigs.
Like I said, I never got that badge.
Well, you can also do... they have like flint sticks and stuff where it's just, you can take anything that's steel and you can crack it off and you get the sparks off it.
I figure if it's sunny out, I can just, and I'm in a clearing, I can just use a magnifying glass. Can I just... Is that cheating?
Well, but think about that, though. In that kind of world where that would have value, a magnifying glass or something with a convex lens, because then you can flip it and be concave. If you have that ability, all of a sudden that little piece of glass has huge value.
Maybe you could even get really good at refracting it off your compass on a nice sunny day. You never know. But yeah, those kind of skills is what I'm saying. Those kind of skills are very transferable to this possible situation that a lot of people are concerned about.
Well, but there's a deeper thing to that, is we have lost sight of having true value in appreciation for those basic skills, so much so that there are many economies that no longer value service industries. Granted, there's always been a slight, I don't want to call it, a slight diminishing of how important they are. It reminds me of, all right, so back in the day, I believe it was Philadelphia, the garbage truck companies, or whatever I don't know if it was like municipalities or whatever, but so it was the actual garbage industry went on strike, and they were no longer picking up the trash. And this went on for, I think it was a few weeks, like a month straight.
Wait, was that in the wintertime?
I can't, I'm not 100% on all the details.
I remember when New York did that for a while too. They just stopped picking up trash, and it was pretty nice.
Long story short is, after these people that we would look down upon, right? Society would look at you and be like, oh, you're just a garbage man. Now, all of a sudden, a month later, your entire city is infested with rats and cockroaches, and your infection rates are going through the roof, because this lowly individual who no longer picks up your trash doesn't want to do their job. You're possibly going to die.
I just want to pull up on my suspenders. and be like, yeah, how you like me now?
But that's the thing is we need to have there are so many, because I mean it doesn't matter what country you're in, there's a general trend that there's always been a diminishing factor to those who are, with blue collar, I think.
You were having the conversation with me before about you made the reference of the doctor, who saves lives every day, looking down on the mechanic. But if the mechanic slips up, guess what? And I think you said something to the extent of, you're in at least a ton's worth of rolling death trap.
I said death on wheels.
Death on wheels, or a bullet.
That's a perfect example.
Bullet, so
doctor messes up in your operation, you die. A mechanic messes up your car, you and your 2 children and your spouse and the other cars that you collide with are now dead. Not one person, 6, 7, 3 families could be affected, 5 families. It could be
right. So who are you to say how important I am?
So a single person in comparison to a multitude, and we want to look down upon mechanics. They keep us alive, whether you think so or not. Because even if they mess up and don't attach one bolt,
and if you're my mechanic out there, if I ever said something that hurt your feelings, man, I'm so sorry. Please don't cut my brake line.
To me, that's why I always like the movie Fight Club. To me, the bigger thing in Fight Club was not so much like believe in your dreams and go against the, always question authority, all that kind of stuff. It was the greater sense of having a deeper appreciation for those of us that like make your stuff happen. Like the scene where they're in the bathroom and they're getting ready to like snip his balls off or whatever. And they're just like, we serve your food. We pick up your garbage. We run your hospitals. He's like, do not F with us. It's like, we are the ones that actually run this city. We're the security guards, your policemen, your bellboys, your waiters, your cooks, all these people that you want to look down upon. We keep this city running.
Well, in a lot of ways, people that it's really terrible to think about, but people that you totally ignore because you don't view that as a person. Like, when's the last time you actually look a meter maid in the eyes? Like, it's a commonality. I mean, it's true. Like, and I don't know if you wouldn't understand this reference because you don't like the show, but I like the new show Sherlock, or newer show. It's a newer version of Sherlock Holmes. And that was one of the storylines in there was a murderer who was going around getting people to commit suicide, and they couldn't figure it out. They weren't even following it because they didn't think it was a serial killer. And then when they started trailing it, they couldn't figure out where the guy was because he was always in the most conspicuous places. And then come to find out he was a taxi driver. So it was like completely overlooked. They could look right at him, and it was like they were looking through him. And it was like, how many people did we just completely turn a blind? Like, when's the last time you said hi to your mailman?
Actually, like 3 days ago.
I'm sure a lot of people are doing that more often now, but.
But yeah, no, but that's definitely a thing. I mean, my garbage people, come Christmas time, they get a tip and they get cookies and a card that says, "Hey, thank you." Serious, like, better example. I was actually pulled over not that long ago. I had a light bulb out. Nothing crazy, right? Officer pulls me over, does the standard thing, information, blah, 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 runs all this, that, and the other, tells me what the issue is, doesn't give me a warning or like, anything written, just tells me, hey, blah, 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 just make sure. And cool, if I see you in this area again, I'm going to give you a ticket, not a warning. Like, this is your warning. I'm just not going to write the, all right, cool, I appreciate that. Goes to walk away, and I thanked, like, hey, thank you for doing your job. And the officer, like, looks at me like, what the? You're welcome. Hey, dude.
Because he's not used to hearing it.
She,
yeah, you were telling me about this.
But that's the thing, though, is regardless, simple fact is that officer did their job, and I was thankful for it. I have family that's in military as well as local law enforcement.
Did you take down her number, or at least her badge number?
I think she has mine. I don't know.
Your badge number?
No, I mean, that's how we're going to roll with it.
Well, she's got a copy of your ID. It's always a good place to start a relationship.
Technically, she knows where I live. Just saying, you know what I mean? But that's the thing is like, yeah, when was the last time that because I do the same thing with manners. All of us are so quick to judge others for not having manners, and it's like you get cut off and you're just like, hey, go F yourself. Like, I can't believe you just did that. But when somebody actually used their turn signal, is patient and polite and courteous, when was the last time you said thank you for that? we're so quick to snap and actually throw energy at somebody not being polite or having manners. I do the reverse. When I see those manners, when I see those proper techniques and being polite and courteous and acceptance, I thank you for that.
But what's funny is people don't even have expectations of that anymore. So it's like when you do it, it's like you're going above and beyond.
Oh, it freaks people out.
Because I've done that before too, where I'm just like, I look somebody in the eye and I say, hey, how are you doing today? I had to call somebody on the phone the other day for something I had to clear up, paying bills and all that. And I called them up. And the first thing I did was just like, they answered the phone. They said their name. How can I help you? And I just said, hey, how you doing? And they paused for a minute. Because they're not used to hearing that. They went, oh, I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. But I mean, it's just sometimes just little things like that go a long way, right? I mean,
it's always all the little things, especially like that.
I know for me, for me, it's the little things. It's the things like, just taking a little consideration. It's not the stuff. It's that you took the extra time to think about me. You don't know me. You know what I mean? Some complete stranger. Just, I hold the door. Thank you. You know how many people walk right past me when I hold the door?
Well,
so every time somebody says thank you, I'm like, you're welcome. No problem. Anytime.
Well, and to me, that's psychology of positive conditioning.
Like I try to acknowledge when people say thank you, because sometimes, like you ever let somebody go in traffic and they look at you and they just go. And like they have an opportunity, they're in front of you or whatever. Hold up a hand. Like, thanks, man.
Well, to me, that's proper etiquette, yeah, but...
I'm like, when I see it, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, I don't even worry about it. But it's like, if I don't see it, I'm like, dude, that was just rude.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, so typically most of us are going to do it in that fashion. I'm at the place where when that happens instead, I go, I wish that there was more positive manners. I wish there was more patience. I wish I actually ask or pray for, as they would say, for what I'd like to see. The Mahatma Gandhi, man, I'll always love that. Be the change in the world you wish to see. Not only do I want to be that, I'm also going to pray for it. So I'm going to do it and ask for it.
Isn't it funny too, like how when you change your frame of mind, it almost seems like if you're focused on the positive things, it really does kind of diminish any negative. Because a lot of times when I'm focused on positive things and I'm putting that kind of energy out, like I'm just, I'm happy-go-lucky. I'm not going to take offense. You want to cut me off, that's fine. I'm in no rush. No big deal. I'll joke about you, whatever, to my windshield, but like I'm not going to freak out. And sometimes when you have that attitude, it just seems like, then you'll find stuff like people let you go in traffic. It's like, how did that happen? I don't know, but sometimes I'll just have those days like, if you're putting that energy out, it seems like more of it's coming back. I don't, they say there's a science to that. I'm not sure, but it does seem to work.
To me, that would just be vibrating on that energy. I think string theory kind of supports that idea because you have these multitude of planes within a plane that can be these different existences, which we can also call alternate, or parallel universes, which could literally just be a continuous timeline. Like the books back in the day when it's like, hey, if you choose this, turn to page 67. If you choose this, turn to page 32. And as you float back and forth on those things, you can resonate on those levels, and it gets you to be in that timeline, meaning that you get that outcome where all of a sudden you catch more green lights, get more people letting you come in, less people cut you off, like all that kind of stuff.
I have trouble like fully subscribing to that idea, but I love the fantastic quality of it. But the idea that like basically, like you said, the emotion that you put out into the world, just being you, if you maintain that high frequency emotion, that's what comes back to you. Like that's in theory.
Well, so I wouldn't say it comes back to you. I would say you're just on that level. You're resonating.
Right. So it's going to go, it's a two-way street. Right.
Yeah. You're literally vibrating or on that frequency. You're oscillating in that time or timeline or that presence or being or idea of you exist on that plane.
And as much as I like to make light of it, I'm telling you now that I have experienced that, And it's weird though, because it is, we've had this discussion before. Like there's so much about your reality that's completely it's not just your five senses, it's your perception, you know, and your perception. I mean, we've had that conversation before, that like
several times, not just before, several times.
You know, something really horrible could happen to you. And like, I've done this before where I've kind of like, I want to say looked up at the heavens, you know, and just went, yeah, I needed that reminder. You know,
I've done that plenty of times.
Yeah.
Typically, it's more of like I just like look straight up and just be like, "Oh, you got jokes? We got jokes. That's what we got. We got jokes. All right, we got jokes today. All right, cool. I like your jokes."
I mean, I've had times where like literally like the minute something happens and it's like, I shrug. I look up at the sky and I just go, I had it coming.
Oh, yeah,
it's cool. Yeah. It's cool.
Oh, yeah, no,
and I kind of go, yeah, you got me. You know, and it's funny because it's a release, right? I mean, you don't have to hold on too tight to something like that. You can just kind of let it go.
You shouldn't hold on tight to anything.
No, you really shouldn't. Unless it's something you don't want in your life. Hold on really tight, because that's a really good way to get rid of it.
That's a good point. Push it away like the crazy ex.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah,
you want to get rid of somebody? Just, man.
It was, the How I Met Your Mother.
You want to get clingy? That'll.
No, so the one character in there, Barney, always has these crazy, outlandish plans to like not only get laid, but also to get rid of the girl easier and easier. So not only can he like get it, but then he can also get rid of it and just kind of like, you know, skirt. One of the plans is called the Ted Mosby. And it's basically because he's like this sorry sap. And it's just like, if you want a girl to lose interest quick and they're just like, oh, you know, I really want this and blah, blah, blah. You're just like, I think I'm falling for you. Bing. All of a sudden it's just like, yeah, they're gone. You're just like, I think I love you. Yeah. It's just like, whoa. We just met 2 hours ago. You're like, but and they're just gone. You know, so it's like an instant. Yeah. So yeah, hold it tighter. And it's just like, did you hear that? Oh, it's my mom. My mom's calling. I gotta go. It's dinner time. Like, dude, you're like 37. What? Your mom ain't calling you to dinner. What is this?
You don't got time to argue, man.
No, she's already gone.
Yeah, she's washing her hair for the next month. You ain't
she's Scooby Doo like smoke. You know,
it's like just a cloud of smoke.
A cloud of smoke that just looked like her as she's, you know, off and gone. Yeah, that little comic book Pow Boom Zap or something where it's just like zoosh.
Yeah, do you mean like the hairpin like spins around in the air for a minute before it like follows her in the gust of wind? Yeah,
her martini glass just kind of floats where her hand was, just vibrates for a second and then drops. Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably where he just breaks the fourth wall and say, "See."
No, he doesn't even do. He literally, he'll break fourth wall, look at you, and then he gives you like a little wink, and it's like ding. It's just like all right,
glimmer.
Oh yeah, usually he's got like a nice suit on, so he'll like, you know, check his jacket or whatever, or like, you know, fix his tie, or he'll even give you like the snap gun fingers, where it's just like, all right, you know, that Quagmire, like, you know, McConaughey, all right, just yeah, man, yeah, it's hilarious, but
you put McConaughey in the same. Oh, that's funny.
I did that.
You did that.
I mean, this is what I do.
That's funny.
That's also what I do. Well, at least I think I do.
Giggity.
Yeah, that too. Oh, yeah, I love how we were all on The Last Shaman, and here we are, you know, about... I mean, of course, because we were talking about what it is to have things and, you know, have value and appreciation for it, and, you know, so... And that's to me, that's that deeper piece is he had a family that had all these things, but that didn't mean that there was actual value in there. Didn't mean that there was actual happiness in there.
I mean, and they had. I mean, it was a pretty decent production. I mean, considering it was pretty much
quality of the movie, the way it was done. Like because it was a vlog. It was, you know, it was a video log basically. So it's this guy taking home videos of himself, and you know.
I mean, it was obvious that you were out in the middle of nowhere, and that it was. I mean, if you're moving, you're going to see.
It's like a Blair Witch production, but without being all scary.
But it was pretty quality. I mean. It wasn't grainy or anything. It was good quality video. I mean, it was non-scripted, but there was a definite. It was edited in such a way that it was definitely it was for effect.
Well, but it was also done on a very chronological based component. I mean, there was definitely a timeline to it that it kept with it, which to me was it continued its honesty or its transparency. So yeah, it was obviously edited for effect. However, it still had a continuous nature to it. So you watched the journey unfold just as he did.
But I mean, he interviewed his mom, right? His dad,
Ex-girlfriend.
his ex-girlfriend,
Who
who
was like the greatest love of his life, and also
and she was a
her.
cutie, and she was really broken up about it. And she spoke about him, and it was like she felt it too. I mean, you could tell, like, and she just wanted him to be happy. I mean, just like anybody who's had to deal with this with a loved one, it's a very difficult thing because it's something you can't, it's intangible. You can't
Hold it too tight.
you can't just fix it. There's no fixing it. You know, and that's one of the things I struggle with, and I think a lot of, just to be honest, I think a lot of men struggle with is we have this desire to try and fix things. When people tell us that they have a problem, instead of just listening, we want to just fix everything, and it's one of those things that just kind of makes you feel helpless. So, anybody out there who's ever had a family member that's gone through something like that, it's very difficult to know what to say, to know what to do, to know when to save yourself, that you know you can't get dragged down into it, but like, where do you find the balance? And it's, you know.
Yeah, that was that just triggered with me. It was Jordan Peterson, where it's like, be careful of someone that you want to save. Like, be careful of saving someone that doesn't want to be saved, and be careful of someone that does want to be saved. So, you know, whether you try to help someone who doesn't want it or you try to help someone that does want it, there's things that come with both of those.
Well, what's the reference that comes to mind for me is that if you've ever had to be a lifeguard or something like that, and you've worked at the ocean, like in the ocean, where you have to, you know, you swim out with the floaty thing and you have to be able to grab somebody up. The trick is you have to actually swim up behind them and literally knee them in the back so you can get them, you know, to a position where their head is able to breathe the air.
You got to flip them over.
But, you know, a lot of people want to, you know, gently come in, and it's like, you don't realize these people are not in their right frame of mind. They're drowning, and they will hurt you. And if they take you down, then there goes both of you.
Oh yeah.
So the trick is, right, to realize that you gotta do the hard thing in order to save at least yourself, in the hopes that you can save somebody else. But, you know, where do you draw that line emotionally is entirely up to you. Nobody can draw that line for you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's why I always like the idea. I'm a big fan of, one of my favorite sayings being is you can't love something else until you truly love yourself. You know, you can't help something else until you can help yourself. You can't save something else until you can save yourself. So if you don't have that personal experience, if you haven't had to deal with it and you haven't done it, then you have no business trying to help someone else. You have no business being in it. Dude, if you can't have a healthy relationship with yourself, you're not going to have a healthy relationship with anyone.
Well,
so if you're out there and you're feeling that you're in an unhealthy relationship and you keep doing this over and over again, you need to fix yourself as well. Whether that means like leaving your partner or sticking with your partner and you both grow together, like, dude, that's up to you. That's your path. But the simple fact is, dude, if you constantly have these patterns, you're the issue. Maybe not entirely, but it's definitely somewhere inside yourself, and you got to fix you. Take care of you. Then you can take care of others.
There has to be it is a balance.
Everything is.
Yeah, there is a balance. So you have to know where, okay, I need to back off for the moment because this is actually starting to take me down. But I guess my only point was, like, you have to be sure of yourself enough to know where that line is. Because it's not like a sign's gonna pop up. Like, here you are, blink, blink, blink. Like, you know.
Everybody's different. As well as on every day. That's why I always like the 4 agreements, you know, always do your best. Dude, give me 100% of what you got. That might be like 2%, 7%, 97%.
Right.
But if that's what you got, that's 100% of what you have from me. Give me that.
I always thought that was nice because whenever you told that to me, because it's been a couple times now, but
because I love it. But use it again and again.
It's kind of nice because it puts you at ease because you're like, I don't have 100%, but it's okay. You just give what you got. You give what you got today, and that's all you can do. Well, not even today. Give what you got right now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
Be in
asking.
the moment.
Yeah, be in the moment.
Well, and that's going to that idea of perception, saying that, you know, because you have money, there's value in it. That doesn't mean that there's value. It just means that there's money. Same exact thing in that regard, dude. Just because you only have 10%, but you give all of that, when you gave me all of your 10%, that's 100% of that 10%. Because you had that 10 and you gave it to me. So you gave me 100% of what you had right now.
Right.
You gave me everything you got. I will always accept that. That is a beautiful thing.
You push yourself to the limit today.
Well,
I think a lot of people feel the same way. It's not, it's the same thing. Well, no, I guess you could speak to this specifically, being in management for a while. That there's a lot of occasion like that where, in some ways you might treat one employee better than one who is actually outperforming that employee.
Never.
Not that you're going to treat them differently. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that, but I'm saying the respect level would be the same as long as that other employee, it doesn't matter what you're performing at, but I can see that you're really trying.
So, one of the things that I did within management with that an idea is I will always offer opportunities. And when one individual elects to take more of those opportunities, I will instinctively offer additional opportunities because I know they will accept them and do them. When I have someone who I will still offer opportunities to, and they more times than not will either not accept them or do them poorly, I will just automatically offer them less. I'm not going to not offer it to them. I'm just going to be more consistently going to somebody else because that's the efficiency. So there's no treating one different than the other. I'm still going to give them the appropriate amount of opportunities that they truly feel as though they can afford because that's what they're showing me. And I'm going to work within their consistency.
Also, so if you look at it from just that aspect too, not that you're treating any employee better than the other, but you might give more leniency to the one that's more willing more often to go out on a limb for you and do something that out of their comfort zone.
Actually, no. I'm going to give it probably just as equal, if not more, to the other, because I want to continuously allow them to.
You want to encourage.
I want to have positive conditioning where it's like I'm always going to be consistent in the fact that this person does it in this fashion. So that if you ever look at the situation, it's like, if you can't be upset because if you want to do more things, do more things. Well, put it this way.
You can't be upset at the other person.
Two different employees, one who is always willing to take 5 shifts a week and one that's only willing to always take 3 shifts a week. There's still a consistency in that. So if whatever you tell me you're going to do and you actually do it, even if it's less opportunities given to you, but if you still come through on what you're telling me you're going to do.
See, that's important. Yeah.
That's the consistency. So I don't care about the output on that factor of like, hey, this is how much you actually give me. If there's a consistency that I know you're always going to give it to me and you're honest and transparent, you're going to get that in return.
That's straight with fulfilling your promises. But I guess kind of what I'm saying is like, if you got somebody who's got potential of, and I hate this term, 110%, right?
That doesn't, dude, we hate that.
I know, I hate that too. But I'm saying you've got somebody who's very skilled in their craft, whether it's waiting tables, washing dishes, or whatever field you're in.
Being a garbage man.
But you can tell that they're so good that they're lax, so they're 80%, 80% of the day. So however that breaks down, whatever. Whereas somebody else is 70%, 100% of the time, and they're pushing to try and do better. Like I wouldn't treat those two people different, but I definitely have more respect for the second one. Because
that's on a personal level.
Even though you're at 70%, you're eking out as much as you possibly can.
Well, but see, now you're talking about it more on a personal level. We were in the discussion of on a managerial thing. So to me, it's the same as being a parent. Do I personally have a favorite child? Of course I do. But do I, as an actual parent, have a favorite child? Never.
No.
But that includes other people's children as well, because I'm always going to give them all that same respect.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm going to have a little bit more love or want for another one over the other, but that's now we're talking personal.
No, but I think more to the point, like you were saying, if there's an opportunity, you're obviously going to look more towards that other employee that's always looking for opportunity. So it's nothing against the other employee. It's just, I'm going to turn first to the person that's always accepting opportunity because it's just, the route of electricity, right? It's the path
path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance, yeah.
I'm going to use 30 words to say 3 things. You're right.
The path of least resistance.
Oh, there you go. That's how you know it's me.
All right, we've ID'd you
That's
now.
that's my signature move. Everybody knows that. If you hear that crack, you're just like, oh, that is Chef Illy D. That's what he does.
All right.
Oh yeah, no, Liquid Swords, Round Guys, love you guys. Thank you guys. Delicious, yeah. This has been brought to you. Actually, it's not been brought to you by the hilarity has been added to because of Round Guys, Liquid Swords.
Salute.
Yeah,
I'm feeling a little light here.
I mean, I can share. I don't mind.
Just
right.
Or just right here. Yeah.
All right, just pour it down my throat. Let it slide down your throat hole. Dude, I love that.
Dude, once you get past lips, man, it's just.
I know. Dude, I was having a meeting before, and the question came up of like what's going on for like on the weekend or whatever, and it was the one lady was talking about like, oh, I'm probably gonna try to go to like Bed Bath and Beyond. It literally triggered my head. I was like, maybe Home Depot too. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time. It's like that's your weekend. This is what you're doing. You're just going from like store to store buying home goods.
We're streaking the quad, man.
I don't ever. Yeah. Who is? They're following behind. They're behind me. They're coming. They're like, nobody's coming with you, Frank. Get in the car.
Oh, the best part was cold out there, huh?
Oh what? Yeah, the look of sadness when the joke set in. It's just like, I got shrivel right now. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, funny. Oh. Anyhow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we were all serious talking about like Last Shaman and like finding yourself and having appreciation for value.
If anybody hasn't seen that movie and you've got the least bit of interest, where did we watch that on? And was it on?
I think Netflix.
Was it on Netflix?
Yeah,
I think it was on Netflix.
It's probably on. You can probably find it on Amazon or Hulu and all those channels. Who knows?
But we saw. I mean, just for reference, we saw it on. I believe it was Netflix.
The last time, I want to say it probably was. I mean, it's definitely on a well-known platform. I can assure you that.
I mean, obviously not that I condone the usage of. Well, I wouldn't even call that a drug. I would call that a medicine. But
what's a medicine?
The emotional struggle, the content of that movie and the journey that it takes you on, I think was really, there was a metamorphosis there. There was a definite.
The journey was the medicine.
Yeah. Well, I remember you telling me that right after we watched together. You were like, it's just funny how.
Yeah, that was the irony that I saw.
It wasn't, well, not to take away from the experience itself, which is, from what I hear, like an 8 to 12 hour experience. It's like a crazy.
Well, but so even
like it's a long ride.
But even him, he referenced the fact that because for 1 month he had to do so many different actual dry herbs.
It wasn't all just ayahuasca.
It had to be raw. Well, he had to cleanse his body. He had to put so many natural components into his body that it pushed all the other toxins or chemicals or heavy metals that society, or at least even affluent, wealthy society, puts into your system. So before you can even take the medicine, you have to be like of the earth. You have to be pure and clean.
Which I found it was kind of funny because he's actually smoking these ridiculously large cigarettes, but they were we were talking about this before. It was Nicotina rustica or something like that. So it's more like the type of stuff the early Native Americans.
It's raw tobacco.
It's raw,
which also has hallucinogenic components and psychotropic components.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing is, so it go back to like sweat lodges. A lot of people wanted to say that it was like peyote that they were smoking because there were such like ridiculous trips or waking dreams or whatever they were. Their vision quests, like they were so realistic that they wanted to put it on. It's like, oh, they're doing a drug. Most likely, they were just smoking straight raw tobacco.
And they were sweating it out.
They were in these highly. We had that discussion on one of the episodes where.
Well, it's still pushing there's a whole thing about pushing your body to its limit.
Well, yeah, because now you're extremely hot, extremely humid. You're having this chemical induced into your body that causes this, that, and the other. The physical catalyst of heat. On a scientific level, when you add heat, it exacerbates, it amplifies on an exponential rate. So yeah, I mean,
well, also there's something that happens to I was just listening to this the other day. There's something that happens to the human brain when it starts getting starved of glucose. So in that state, your body starts getting into a starvation, because I mean sweat lodges. I mean, that's several days in a row, right? Where
depending on the ceremony,
like you're not really eating, you're hardly even drinking. I mean, you're not. The only thing you're taking in is medicine. the entire time you're in there. So if it's like a little bit of water, but it's not.
I personally don't know to the degree.
I mean, I'm just going on like what I've.
Correct. Yeah, no.
What I've been able to see in
relative information I have, my assumption is that it was not peyote or mescaline. It was the fact that they were smoking raw tobacco in that situation, causing them to have these visions. But yeah, and that, to me, that's what medicine is. If you're using something that makes you healthy, that's a medicine. If you're using something to numb you or take you away or detract or diminish, that's a drug. I don't care if it's TV, masturbation, cigarettes, doing whippets. You eat too many gummy worms, whatever the deal is. You're too busy picking.
Well, you're talking about an addiction versus But it's something that takes on an addictive quality. But that's what a drug is. Drugs are addictive. But I would easily say the same thing for something you pick up on the street as something you get in the store. I mean, just because you need a prescription for it, I don't think it makes it a necessarily healthy thing, because plenty of people can use them incorrectly too. And that's the funny thing. It's like we all want to wag our finger at people that use illicit drugs, but in some sense, they cause less side effects than the stuff you actually buy that has a license to produce. So, well, I mean, yeah. So that goes to the idea. There's an argument both ways there. Yeah, but that's that discussion of like what perception is, because I mean the same thing. It's all. Well, but it's all money. Just as we were saying with the last shaman is, he had all these things where most people would look at it and be like, wow, he has the greatest life right there in front of him. Why can't he be happy? Yeah, what do you got to be sad about? Yeah. Yeah, no, why you crying, little happy rich boy? Oh, mommy and daddy didn't hug you enough. And you know what? That's his trap. And that caused him personal turmoil. So it doesn't matter what his issue was. Simple fact is we all feel pain, and we all have to be willing to accept that everybody's pain is real, even though it's different from what you perceive. So, yeah. So we had a really good episode today. We always have a great episode. We always have a great episode, but yeah, well, because usually we wind up having a drink or two. We get to get some like stuff off our chest. we get to hear ourselves talk and think we're important for a minute. It's great. Damn it, I am important. I don't need anybody else to tell me that I'm important. I can be important all on my own. But yeah, anyway, we've had a good chat today, and I think it's about that time. It is unfortunately that time. We appreciate everything that we have. I'm so glad anybody that's listening right now. I'm so glad you tuned in. Yeah, we really are. I mean, honestly, in case you haven't heard it lately, you are beautiful. You are smart. People do love you. You are wanted. You are needed. Be yourself. Be beautiful. Keep it real. Yeah, we're glad you checked in. And. Hey, check us out again. I mean, another episode coming. It's always coming. It's just, I'm telling you. Yeah, same bad time? Well, I mean, maybe a different bad channel, but. See on the flip side, right? Yeah, it'll still be me and you, man. Word. Mr. Gemini. All right, pound it out. All right, fam. We'll catch you on another episode. Much love. Peace. Peace.